have a thumb button, resistance release, and 2 different styles of index releases with 2 different wrist straps on them. These all have different tensions set up, and the anchor point is different. Do you think these will impact the same downrange? Let's go find out.
First up is my favorite release, the Insatiable 3. This thumb button is set pretty heavy, and it's what I've been shooting for years. Next up, the Evo 20, our resistance release. This is set up just a little bit heavier than the Insatiable is set up, although in the end our timing down in the corner turns out pretty similar to the Insatiable. The Evo has a closed ring around the index finger, which means it sits on my cheek a little bit different. This is my Like mic 2. I'm still in the process of getting this set up the way I like. The wrist straps that I have are all a little bit big on me, so I need to find a smaller wrist strap or do something creative because they keep sliding down into my hand and affecting how the draw length feels for me. You can see I had to tuck my face in a bit to get the peep to line up. This is a Like mic 1 that I borrowed from my buddy. It is not set up for me at all. The head of the release is really close into the wrist strap, which changes my perceived draw length, and I really am struggling to get into a position where I can see through the peep. Since the peep is so much lower, I'm having to tuck my face with this anchor point. Having the trigger so far back makes me have to curl my finger harder and sacrifice good contact on the release, which makes it a real struggle to fire, as you can hear. Let's go check them out. Okay. I would have to say point of impact is the same. I shot the arrows in numerical order. You can see they're labeled with Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can see the point of impact for each release. We can compare side by side the 4 different releases, and you see there is a 4-degree angle from the arrow back towards my elbow, so you can compare alignment. Zooming in, you can see that the anchor causes the string to come up higher for the wrist straps and also opens up this negative space gap. The elbow is in different alignment with the wrist, and after the shot is fired, there's a noticeable difference in the angle of the elbow in follow through.
A lot of people say, when I shoot this release versus my hinge or whatever, I know that I'm going to hit 15 clicks left and 5 clicks right because the releases are different. But I'm going to argue that it's not the release, and it's how you are looking through your peep and through your scope. If you shot both of those different releases or any other release from a shooting machine, so long as there's not a problem with the caliper dragging on the D-loop, those releases should fire the same out of the shooting machine, and therefore you should be able to shoot them the same out of your bow with the same point of impact. If you can't, it's because you are not lining up the same way, looking through your peep and looking down through your scope. A lot of people, when they're shooting long distance, they're actually lining up the pin in their scope instead of the peep around the housing, and that changes the point of impact, allowing them to shoot farther yardages more accurately. So it's really not about what the release is doing and how you're anchoring. It's about how you are lining up the bow, and that has to do with what's on the bow, not what's hooked to the back of the bow. What I like to do is tie a small nose button onto the string so I can get the very tip of my nose lined up in the same spot, and that helps me get my eye lined up through the peep and then lined up to the housing consistently each time. So that way, no matter what I'm doing or if I'm in a very downhill position or uphill, I can still get my alignment of my eye looking through the peep, looking through the scope housing the same. And whether I'm shooting a different release and I have to tuck or get into position, I can still make that same point of impact downrange because I'm lining the bow up instead of lining my body up behind the bow. Thanks so much for watching. Have you had similar results? Feel free to leave your experiences in the comments and let me know.